Well, welcome in everyone to the Life Coaching for Men podcast, episode number 66. I am so glad to have you back here with us this week. Again, just wanted to remind you if you want to see me and how this happens and where this takes place, I'm in my podcast studio and I am broadcasting it on YouTube as well. So you can check on over at Dr. Darren Wilson YouTube channel. I don't have a lot of things up there yet, but there are a couple things up, including the interview that I had with David Nagel, as well as the last two podcasts. So give it a look, and if you like that, where you can see me and we can feel like we're interacting together and I'm looking at you, that's great. And if not, just please continue to listen on Spotify or Apple or wherever it is that you listen to your podcast. So just wanted to again say thank you to all of you who have listened and have reached out. I have some big news this week that I'm going to exclusively share with the podcast listeners, at least for now. It's going to come out publicly in the next couple weeks. But several of you over the last year have reached out to me about some type of group coaching or some type of course that maybe I would do. And I wanted to let you know that my first ever course is going to launch live on October 5th. And it's going to be titled something to the effect, I haven't quite narrowed it down exactly, but it's something to the effect of how to stop fighting with your mate, how to stop fighting, and how to bring peace in a relationship that may currently have drama. And so it's really it's going to be there's several videos, there's over 20 plus videos in there right now. It's me teaching. There's going to be a lot of different lessons. There's going to be supplemental material. I'm including 3 webinars with it, so it's going to be a great product for you, especially if you want to up level any relationship. I mean, I focus on, spouse, mate, that kind of thing to start. But obviously, with relationships, as you all know, it can be for work relationships, certainly can be with your kids and how you're dealing with your kids on a daily basis. But I am so pumped about it. So hopefully next week I'll be able to tell you exactly where you can go and you can order and be ready for when it launches on October 5th. If you would like some additional information and go on and get on the waiting list, I'll be glad to do that. If you'll just email me at drdarrenwilson@gmail.com. It's DRDARIN Wilson at gmail.com. I'd be glad to go on and get you on that list and tell you all the ins and outs about it. But I can't wait to get it launched. I think it's going to help a lot of people, and I think it's going to give access to some people who can't coach with me one on one because of my schedule and I'm booked and so on and so forth. And so I think it'll be really good. So look for that in the next couple of weeks. I'll tell you where you can look for it. There'll be some ads out there, but for right now, it's exclusive to you podcast listeners. So feel free to reach out if you've got further questions or if you'd like to get on the wait list. So I can't wait for that to happen. I think the content is just going to be outstanding for a lot of people. So with that, I wanted to give you some strategies this week, or what I like to call some life hacks to help up level your relationship right now. So if you've got some drama in your relationship right now, or if you've got a relationship that you're struggling with, whether it be a romantic relationship or it be a work relationship, I deal with guys all the time who are dealing with stuff business wise. I love doing business coaching too. So it could be a business relationship where you're trying to figure out how to manage and how to lead multiple units or a lot of different folks. And so it doesn't really matter what the relationship is. These can help you in any of those types of relationships. And so what I would encourage you to do is kind of jot them down, and you can pick and choose the ones that work the best for you, depending on the situation that you're in. So here we go. Here's some life hacks for you to help instantly change your relationship with someone else, in particular your relationship with yourself, right? Because let's be truthful, if we take care of the relationship with ourselves, then our relationships all around us tend to get better almost immediately. So here we go. Life hack number 1: be curious. Be in a state of curiosity. And you can even notice when you start to tense up in your body, when somebody you're having a conversation with that's close to you, and you start to notice those feelings that come up where you feel a little uncomfortable, or you feel critical, you feel like you need to engage, or you feel like you need to argue. That's when I want you to just take over and let yourself go, wait a minute, let me be curious. I wonder why they would say XYZ. I wonder why they would act in this way. Another tactic that I heard just this week was, you can say, well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that an interesting way of looking at this situation? Even if you completely disagree with it, right? You can say, isn't that an interesting situation? And see if you can get curious. Particularly, see if you can get curious around issues that are really triggering. I mean, right now we've got the vaccine issue, right? There's a side of the fence that says, hey, get the vaccine. There's a side of the fence that says, I'm not getting the vaccine, right? So if you're around one of those people, and normally they just grate on your last nerve because they're not doing what you think they should do, see if you can get in a state of curiosity. It's going to be very difficult for some of you because you're so trained and so used to just reacting and responding, and you're used to your emotion taking over. And then all of a sudden, you don't even know what you're thinking. And so it just comes out, right? But I want you really to stop and pause and just try to put yourself in a situation that says, boy, that's an interesting way to think. I would never think of it that way. I wonder why they do. And then you can engage, right? If you can come at it from a place of curiosity, your engagement level is going to be so much more calmer. You're going to be able to think so much more clearly, and you're going to be able to actually maybe find out what the other person is thinking, and then you can respond in a educated, coherent way, right? Instead of just reacting, instead of just letting anger take over, which happens so many times. Okay. So I want you to be curious. You've heard me talk about this next one before, but I want you to really work, especially when it's someone that's close to you, with separating fact from truth. Okay. Separating fact from story. Okay. What is the story? What are the facts? Okay. Here are the facts of the situation. Here's the story. This is the story that I'm telling myself about this particular situation, right? Someone comes up to you, somebody tells you this grandiose thing that they're engaged in. Before you respond, before you react, ask yourself, okay, what is true and what is story? And how do I want to engage? Because if you can pull out the truth, if you can pull out the facts, okay, before you speak and before you engage, you will be able to have a conversation with that person that, again, comes from a very clean space. It will drop the drama just because you've been able to drop the story. Okay. It will lessen the drama just because you are talking in facts. You are talking in factual situations, factual circumstances. You are not allowing all of those thoughts and all of those external feelings to be involved. You just stick with the facts, drop the drama, right? Separate the two, and then engage in the conversation. Number three, drop your expectations of the other person. Maybe the hardest thing to do, but drop your expectations of the other person. Start to notice the person that's on the other side of you and what you expect from them. How do you expect them to act? How do you expect them to behave? What do you expect them to do? And when they don't do that, when they don't behave in the way that you want them to, how do you respond? And why do you respond? 9 times out of 10, you respond because they are not meeting your expectation, right? And most of the time, those expectations are unspoken. You don't even tell them that this is the expectation that you have. Now, a healthy relationship can have some expectations. You can have some wants, and you can ask for those wants from your partner. You can ask for those wants from a best friend, right? It's a little different when you're talking about a small child because there are some expectations that they have to do and live up to live in the house. I get that. There are some differences when you're talking about expectations at work and with a coworker. But when you're talking about a romantic relationship or you're talking about a friendship, you can ask for some things. You can say, look, it really would make me feel good if you would behave in XYZ way, but then they get to choose. And that's the hardest part. The hardest part is allowing humans to be humans. It's allowing that other person to be, do, act, have, however they want. and you sit on the other side and respond to that without your expectations. Now, you get to choose. Remember this, you always get to choose if you want to have that person in your life. You get to choose, do they help add value to me or do they bring me down? And if they bring you down, then you need to really think about not having that person in your life or certainly not being around that person very often. So you can speak to and find clarity in that, but notice where those expectations are coming up. I would even encourage you, especially if it's your spouse, your mate, I would encourage you to write down the expectations you have of them and start to notice where you feel like they fall short. Because where you feel like they fall short is where your biggest contention is going to be. That's where you're going to have the most angst in this relationship. That's where the drama is going to come up because they're not meeting your expectation, right? And when you can drop that, when you can say, you know what, my expectation of you is to be you, my expectation of me is to be you or to be me, and I'm going to try to love you the best I can love you, that's when you'll see your relationship start to change. And again, remember, you always have the choice. So many times we think, well, no, I'm stuck in this relationship. Well, no, you're not. You choose every day whether you want to stay in a relationship or not. And so you might as well figure out a way to do it as drama free as you can. And one of the best ways to do that is to drop your expectations. Now, along those same lines, I'll give you another one, and that is to begin to expect the best from your partner. I want you to think about how many times you go into a situation. Maybe you're coming home for the night, or maybe you're about to send a text, or maybe you're about to be on a phone call, and you are already expecting the worst from the person that you supposedly love the most, right? You've already got this conversation going on in your head about why they should have done or why they shouldn't have done or why they, you can't believe they didn't do. And then you get on the phone with them, and how do you show up? You show up angry. You show up entitled. You show up mad, right? You show up agitated, whatever. And they're like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Nothing, nothing, nothing. What's wrong? Nothing. And it's this whole thing that you've built up because you've not expected the best from your partner. Have you ever had a situation where you thought your partner was somewhere else? Like they were supposed to be, I don't know, they were supposed to be working out. And all of a sudden you go and you like, because you're being creepy and needy and jealous, and you go try to find out where they are and they're not working out. And you're like, oh, where are they? What are they doing? And then all of a sudden you get home and you're already mad and you're worked up and you're like, I cannot believe you did this. And you get in there and then all of a sudden they had went out and done something really nice for you. Like here it is, here's your favorite dessert that's at home, or here's your favorite XYZ that's there. And what happens immediately? Immediately the temperature in you changes, right? Because you're like hot and mad and angry. And now your thoughts have changed because you see that what you thought and what you expected in terms of the worst turned out to be the best. Why not just give them the benefit of the doubt to begin with and expect the best of your mate? Expect the best from them. Expect that that comment that they made was actually not a sarcastic, right, smart aleck comment. Expect that text that you read and you read tone into that text. Just give them the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what? I don't think there's tone there. Or maybe there is some tone there and I'm going to let it go, right? I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to forgive them already. They don't even have to say they're sorry, but I'm just going to let it go. There is so much power in that for you. And there is so much relief for the other person that's on the other side of you when you show up that way, when you show up just expecting the best from your partner. The next one, hard. This is hard, guys. I want you to start working to live in the present. I want you to live in the precious present. There is no place that is better for you to live than today. And not only today, then right now. We're not promised tomorrow. We can't go back and get yesterday. So we might as well live in today. And what that also includes is that also includes noticing where that past programming comes up and where those things that come up in us that agitate us on a daily basis, especially those little things that we sweat and we get all worked up with our spouse. I want you to just start living in the present. Just live in the present and think, you know what? I am just going to love her for today. I'm going to love him the best I can just because I'm here. I'm grateful that I have this moment and I'm going to stay in the present. I'm not going to allow something that happened 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 5 days ago to influence how I show up with my spouse today. Game changer, right? Live in the present, this precious present. So important. Two more. Listen before you speak. Boy, that sounds so simple, doesn't it? Listen before you speak. Listen and hear what the other person says before you speak. How many times have you been in a conversation with your spouse and you start to finish the conversation before they're done? Now, for some of you, you've been married a long time, you're like, oh, yeah, but I can finish their sentences. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when you're in a disagreement and in an argument, or you're having a conversation about something that you guys aren't on the same page about, and all of a sudden you are going on and having the conversation before it comes out of their mouth, right? Because it's running in your brain, right? This conversation is already going. You're already like two or three steps ahead. You're like, oh, I know where this argument's going and I can win this one. And here's how I'm going to win it. No, I want you to listen before you speak. Hear what they say. Ask them to repeat it back to you. So what I hear you saying is you would like for me to. What I'm hearing is when I do this, it makes you feel, right? And then you can engage back. Then you can have a conversation from that space. Again, you are staying within your own power. You are staying calm. You are staying collected. When you notice that it's riling up inside you, you're able to go, no, wait a minute. I'm just getting a little anxious over this because it doesn't feel good to have this conversation. I'm not used to this. All right, brain, calm down. We can do it. Okay. It's my spouse. It's the person that I'm supposed to love the most. Okay. Or it's my best friend, or even in a coworker, right? When you're managing people, let them speak, let them get it out. And then you can respond, you can rebut, you can say whatever you want to say once they're done, but allow them to speak and allow yourself to hear it and fully hear it before you engage back. Okay. And then the last, and I think this is really important, especially for the people that are on the other side of you, and that is to work to live and function as a team. If you can work and function and live as a team rather than this game that we play so often, right? We try to either one up each other or we try to keep score with each other. This isn't a team where we're trying to keep score and we're necessarily trying to win. We may be trying to win as a team, as a couple, but we're not trying to win where we're being individuals and we're pulling and tugging against each other, right? It's not about keeping score. It's not about, well, I did this, so you should do this. It's not about, well, I was allowed to do this and you're not allowed to do this, or I should be allowed to. It's not about any of that. It's about how do we function together as a team? How can we live our best life as we move forward and as we navigate this world together? How can we do that as a team? It takes a lot of communication, takes a lot of talking, takes a little compromise, right? But you can do it if you try to function, try to live, try to work, try to be as a team. So let's recap. These life hacks will really help you. And they're hacks that you can start immediately and you can start implementing and you'll start noticing how your relationships can change. So the first, be curious. The second, separate fact from story or pull truth from story, right? Drop your expectations. Expect the best from your partner. Live in the present. Listen before you speak and live and function as a team. All right. You can do it. Remember, reach out to me if you want some information on the course that I'm developing. Again, it's going to launch October 5th. If you want to engage or talk about one-on-one coaching, I've got one spot left. Would love to talk to you about that. drdarrenwilson.com or drdarrenwilson@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you this week. Hope everyone has a safe and super week, and I can't wait to see you back here next Thursday. Take care, everyone.